it's not really a place to start your career. Yeah, that's what. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Are you Susie?
Yes, are you ready to start our podcast?
Yeah, let's go.
Hi, today on our podcast we have C.S. Lewis, the author of the famous novel, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. How are you today?
I'm great, Susie. I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
Good, glad to have you. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I was born on November 29th, 1898, and I lived in Belfast, which is in the Northern Ireland area.
That is very cool. Can you tell me a little bit about your schooling?
Sure. I went to a lot of public and private schools as a kid, and I had a really helpful tutor that I'll tell you about later. And when I was older, I was offered a scholarship at Oxford University, which was an amazing accomplishment for me.
Very impressive. I have a few questions for you. Is it okay if I go ahead and start asking?
Totally.
Okay. Question number 1. What inspired you to write this book?
Ooh, what inspired me? That's a really good question. I think a big inspiration for me was when I was younger. 3 girls were sent to live in the countryside with me due to the bombings in London, and they couldn't live there anymore. Although we only lived together for a short period of time, we quickly became friends. This helped inspire the characters of Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. The games we would often play together around the house that we would only use our imagination for also helped imagine some of the situations and characters that took place in the wardrobe and in Narnia.
That is very cool. So you had 3 girls come live with you?
Yes.
But you
3.
based the 3 off onto 4 people?
Yes, one of them was me.
That is very, very cool. Question number 2. Which character do you relate to the most?
I think that I relate myself to most of the characters in little bits. I believe I'm imaginative and creative, a lot like Lucy, but as a young boy, I had to mature quickly. This is really similar to Peter and Susan. Mr. Tumnus shares my love of reading and learning, and he's also my favorite character that the children meet inside of Narnia. Edmund shares some of my worst qualities, though. While we can both be selfish and impulsive, he is far more greedy than I have ever been.
I like that you show your readers your true identity and your bad qualities.
I try to be honest with my readers.
Question 3. I've heard you're a fan of mythology.
I am.
Did this play a part in your book?
This played a really big part in my book, and I don't think it would be the same if I wasn't such a big fan. I got a lot of my inspiration of Narnia from Greek and Roman mythology, but I also used Irish and British fairy tales that played a big part in the creation of this parallel world. Not a lot of people know that.
Thank you for sharing that with me. Question 4. Did you base any of the characters on people who impacted you in real life?
Let's see. I did. Professor Kirk is mainly based on my high school tutor, William Kirkpatrick. You can also hear it in their names. He helped teach me the joy of reading and really started getting me to write, which is so helpful, and I wouldn't be here today without him. Lucy is also based on my goddaughter, who is named Lucy as well. I dedicated the book to her because I love her imagination and the qualities I see in her. I think she'll be an amazing writer one day.
Does she take after you?
I hope. I can definitely see that she likes writing, and I just hope that she keeps up with it and doesn't get discouraged.
That's very special. Question 5. Was Aslan the mythical lion that the children meet in Narnia based on anybody in your life? If so, who?
My religious background made Aslan come to life, and I only have that to thank for him. Without him, I don't think the book would ever have been sold. I believe that no matter what religion you practice, if you practice one at all, you can agree with him on his morals and his outlook on life and how much he cares for the 4 children.
He is very inspiring in the book.
He's one of my favorite characters to write.
Question 6. Why did this book take so long to write?
This book took a long a long time to write, excuse me. And I think that's because I wanted it to be perfect. Mostly for my granddaughter, but also for myself. Goddaughter, my bad. After my friends told me that it was less than that, I destroyed the first copy and started from scratch. After almost 10 years later, I was content and I knew it was ready to be published.
That is very good. You took your time and made sure everything was perfect.
I did.
Question 7. How does it feel to have the best-selling book?
Oh, it feels wonderful and very inspiring. I am beyond grateful and so touched that there are people from around the world who decided to pick up my book and read it. I will always be grateful for those who motivated me to become an author and told me to follow my dreams. I have them to thank.
Very, very inspiring. Question 8. How did you develop the character of the White Witch?
Oh, she's one of my favorite characters, after Aslan, of course. I knew that from the beginning I needed a strong villain to carry the story. It's arguably the most important part of any good book. I wanted my villain to be different than most typical bad boys or bad guys that there usually are in literature. I think that the White Witch captured that because she does not just use violence, but she's also witty, charming, and she knows what she wants, and she goes after it. I think that there needs to be more strong female characters in literature, even if they are like the villain. I think that makes the story more interesting.
I agree. Do you see a little bit of yourself in her?
I can see my temper in her, I'd like to say, but I would never turn people to stone like she does.
Very true.
I also see my love in Candy and Turkish delights in her.
Yeah. Question 9. There are many people who dislike the Chronicles of Narnia. What are your thoughts on this?
I believe that everyone is entitled to their own opinions. There are many popular books that I read, and I did not like them at all. One thing I would say to people who don't like my book is that I hope that your experience with my one book does not turn you off to reading in general. There are so many different genres that everyone can find a book that they fall in love with.
Very, very true, even though yours is one of my favorites.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites as well.
Question 10. What would you say to people who wanted to start reading?
I would say go for it. I would also say if you want to read, write. And if you want to write, read. They go hand in hand, and you can never become a good writer if you don't read, and you'll never know what you like to read until you start writing. They're both extremely important parts of my life. I'm always reading, and when I'm not, I'm writing, and vice versa. I love doing both, and I also love doing podcasts.
Well, thank you for coming and talking with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great experience. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's see how that one does.